Good morning around the Diamond family. We are back again for another session of baseball conversation and Slam Sam on a blistery Saturday morning. Because I don't know about you, Bill, but in my area, it's about -5 degrees right now. Can you send some of the warmth from Southern California to the
Oh, no,
Northeast?
no. It's been cold out here. It's like 63 degrees right now. It's cold.
Oh, boo hoo! Cry! 63 degrees. I'd be in shorts and a t-shirt.
Listen, I went for a walk in shorts and t-shirt yesterday, so that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But
Bill,
but as
how
it,
you doing? I missed you last week, my friend.
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you watched the episode, but come on, bring it to me. Bring it to me for what I did. Bring it to me.
I know. I'm not going to bring it to you. I'm just going to let you live in it.
Yes, it was awesome. It was not as much fun without having you on, but hey, it was good times. It
Well,
was
Bill, I am back. I am excited to be here. And we have a new segment in there to give props to an all-time great in baseball, and we will get to that point later. But before we get to that, let's go through a couple of little things we got to touch on. So, first and foremost, Bill, we are a week and 2 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. How do you feel? Is
to
it getting
quote
real?
To quote somebody one time saying this, the long national nightmare is coming to an end. I feel like this has been the longest off season ever. So giddy up.
I
Let's go,
concur.
let's go, let's go.
I concur with that. I think this free agency really is what made this entire offseason feel like it was like months and months. Um, and like to hear what your thoughts are on. Do you think having such an impactful class of free agents is going to really change the framework of how the spring training is going to look for some of these teams? Is it going to be more about the hype on the players rather than the teams playing cohesively, or are you thinking like that's not going to mean anything? These guys are geared up and ready to go.
Sammy, that's a great question. I hadn't looked at it like that, so that's a phenomenal question. I don't know. I do know this. I do know that
Mm-hmm.
this year's spring training is going to affect how baseball is going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We now have top fans that are writing articles or wanting to be on the podcast talking about how to get things done for cheaper. So on Monday, there's going to be an article that's going to be in the locker room, but it's also going to be on the homepage too for those that don't have it, which talks about how to save
Mm-hmm.
money when you go to the ballpark. Like we've changed the face of baseball
Yeah.
this year. So does
Mm-hmm.
the spring training look a little different? Possibly. You're going to start to see some of the kids for all of these teams get more than a
Yeah.
drink of water up this year because you can sustain. I don't think spending $1 billion in free agency this year is sustainable next year. Now, granted, you have Shohei Ohtani in there and Juan Soto, so you may end up spending $1 billion, but I just don't think it's sustainable going forward. Great question, though, Sam. Great. What do you think?
I mean, my thing. I questioned when I was creating our deck this morning, and the reason why I think about it is because as a Giants fan, as Giants fans, we're in a different situation, but somewhat similar to LA, where we're considered a top tier team, but we're in a secondary market. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Giants have always been that team people will always watch. They're, one of the longest standing baseball teams in history. They've got, they always have a good fan base that follows them, probably one of the top 10 largest fan bases in the country when it comes to baseball. Giants are probably up there. But because we're in a secondary market, these big name free agents always come to us as like big shockers when they come up. So as the Aaron up and the Swansby and the Correas and all of these conversations are coming up, the one thing I was thinking about is how is this going to impact, as a Giants fan, our market and ticket pricing, food pricing, spring training tickets, merchandise, all of those things. So I think, and when it comes to spring training, especially if you actually look at ticket prices, the Giants in the Cactus League actually have one of the highest ticket prices for a stadium over any other team in the Cactus League. They're in like the top 3 highest prices. Now, could it be because they only play in their own, that they're the only team that plays in their stadium and they own their stadium? That's a possibility. But as you mentioned, the game is changing. And as these players are starting to get these bigger price contracts and things like that, it's impacting the fans in a way it really expected it to come. So I think I'm actually very excited to read this article. And for transparency, it's hard for me to read a lot of articles because I really get like, if it's not about my team, I'm normally not one to gravitate towards it. However, this is one I'm going to because I'm a big proponent of making sure I enjoy my time when I go to a baseball game. But we're traditionalists. I spend money on tickets. I'm not going to shy around it. I have spent $200 on a baseball ticket so I could be in the 100 section, minus the fact that I was 25 rows back. I've spent $200 on a ticket. I enjoy that. But now, it's going to be a completely different situation for fans. It really is. So I'm cautiously optimistic to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
That's the long short answer I can get.
Thank you. That was a very short answer. The thing that I think is interesting when it comes, and you brought up the financing, and I brought up the financing. The thing that I think is interesting in this whole thing, Sammy, is we got a situation where now you have your fan fest, right? So all the fan fests are going on. So today, Dodgers, Giants, Padres all have their fan fests today. What's interesting is I went live with somebody named Jackie at the Astros Fan Fest. She couldn't hear me. I could barely hear her, but it was fun. That was free. Like you could take selfies with players. You could get autographs. It was free.
It's all about the AirPods. It's all about the AirPods.
Yeah.
When we do lives at the stadiums, Bill, I always want you to know since that one mess up I had.
Yep. AirPods.
On a live, I always mention I go to a stadium.
So here's what's funny though. The Dodgers are charging like crazy. So it's free to get in. But if you want a selfie with one of the players, it's $25. If you want an autograph, it's $25. You want to run the bases, $25. Sam, if you took your nephew who's 5 years old and he wants a selfie with the player, $25. If you want lunch with Steve Garvey, $150. If you want the full experience,
that might be worth it, though. That might be worth it.
That might be worth it. But if you want the full experience, Sammy, so the tour of the stadium, the VIP tour of the stadium, the lunch with Steve Garvey, all the autographs, all the selfies that you want, it comes to a mere price tag of $1,995. So
now, what's the
expected
occupancy? What's the expected occupancy? Just to kind of put this into perspective for Dodger Stadium's fan fest. Assumption is the expected occupancy is probably going to be upwards of 100,000 people.
No. You
think less?
I suspect that all day long they'll be lucky. And this is, sorry, Dodger fans, watch this. Tell me I'm wrong. They'll be lucky if they get 20,000 people there.
Do you think that is due to the pricing that they're charging?
You want doctoring by bill, or do you want me to toe the company line here? Because if you say doctoring
I
by
want
bill,
I Bill,
yes,
Bill, how long have you
absolutely.
known me? How long have you known me? When have I ever asked you to be around the bush?
Listen, yes, I think so. I mean, listen, I chose not to go to, well, granted, we've got a friend's, you know, child's birthday, and we're going to different things today, but I chose not to go to Fan Fest today because if I want a selfie with somebody, what's to say I can't just walk by and go, shake, right? That was free, right? But if I want a selfie, if I want an autograph, I don't want to spend $100 getting a couple autographs, getting a couple of selfies. I want to enjoy the time with my friends, with the top fan
Hmm.
followers. I, why is it free in Houston? They're world champions. Why are we charging? Don't get it,
No, and
right?
yeah, and I think, like I said, it all goes into all these big things and big contracts and money that they're now shipping out to players, where they're like, we have to compensate in another way, and it's going to impact the fans so much that I think they're going. It's hard for me to say it because I'll still go to the games, but I think we will start seeing record attendance lows
Well,
at certain
well,
stadiums.
well, hold on a second. The Diamondbacks, the A's, and the Rays can't get any lower.
I said at certain
I
stadiums.
know.
I didn't say at all the stadiums.
I
But
mean,
I think stadiums that you were expect that are typically sold out, like Yankee Stadium, like Fenway, like Pittsburgh in recent years, like Tampa Bay, like Seattle, San Francisco. I think you're not going to see a full season of sold out stadiums. I think you're going to start seeing more like 75, 70, 65% occupancy because their fans aren't going to be able to enjoy the games. They're not going to be able to enjoy the tickets. What are they going to do? They're going to go get nosebleed seats, and all that first row is going to be like a ghost town. You know, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But again, we could talk about this all day, all night. But
what's next, Sammy? What we got next?
well, next is we have a very, very, very small amount of people that are on the move, so that's always a plus. So, you know, Greinke is, I believe, on his final hurrah, finally after all these years, and is re-signed with Kansas City for 1 year. And in my opinion, I think it's just a matter of a week and 2 days until he says this will be my last season.
Possibly, possibly.
And then we got Chad Green, who signed on a 2 year deal, 8.5 million. Nowadays, at this time of year, this is just quick pickups. Who can we get for the cheap?
Who
Bill,
can
what
get
do
for
you think
cheap?
on the job? Yeah, what do you think on the Josh Harrison signing though?
Uh,
You know,
Philly, go. What do I think about it?
yeah,
I think Philly's looking to fill holes, and Josh Harrison is going to be a great backup when you want to give the guys days off,
yeah,
right? And
hundred
so he'll
percent.
probably get into close to 100 games a season, but he's not going to be an everyday starter.
No,
So,
not at all. But I think he's gonna be able to come in there as a DH. I think.
mhm.
I think if they need, well, I can't remember, and I apologize, top fans, for being like this. Is he lefty or righty?
He is a righty. So,
So he could come in and be a DH, contrary to Bryce. When you got lefty pitchers, you could throw him in on the DH and put Bryce into the field. When you got righty pitchers, you could put Bryce in, you know what I mean?
remember,
So you got a number of different things that Josh Harrison can bat. So
right,
I think it
and
was a reasonable move for them to make.
right, and remember, Bryce isn't back until mid-June.
That's true. So Josh Harrison could really fill that DH role that they may need for the first month or two of the season while Bryce is getting everything back in motion. And then real quick, two great players retired from baseball this past week: Dexter Fowler and Jake McGee. We wish them nothing but the best.
Huge gaping holes with these retirements. I mean, what are we going to do without Jake McGee and Dexter Fowler? Huge
I have
holes
no
to fill.
idea. Yeah, I mean, these guys, they were impact players so much last year that I don't know what the league is going to do without them.
I
But
mean, we already know that Brandon Belt is the first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to get 100% of the vote. These guys are
oh,
probably
there's no
going to get
question.
98% of the vote.
Ouch. They don't get 99.
That's it. You're out, right?
I'm writing a strongly worded. He's getting a strongly worded letter from me. Last thing he wants is me to make that phone call. If I make that phone call to him, he knows it's over. He knows he's in trouble. But even though we got these guys that are currently on the move, there are still a number of good free agents out there. I think Bill and I talked about this at the top of the show before we even got started. We are still both shocked that Gary Sanchez has not been signed. I think
there's something we don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be something we don't know. But I also do think maybe a lot of teams are just trying to weed through the catchers that they have, seeing who's going to fit, and then if Gary's still playing well, look, he still has a week. He still has about 2 weeks to get an invite, non-roster invitee spot to some team to show his worth, show his value.
Right.
I think their market values are way too high for some of them, like Gurriel and Profar. They're not getting they're definitely not getting what they're asking for. And if they think that this is the market value, I would say if they offered Profar 2 years for $15 million, there you got your market value. But they're not going to give Profar for $15 million a year. That's insane. Not going to happen.
No, I'm surprised. So I'm surprised that G Sanchez is still on here. I'm also surprised that Yuli Gurriel is on here because he'd make a great DH. There is still some rumblings in Houston by the Houston fans. They almost have a draft Gurriel thing up. Like there's some Houston fans that are like ticked that, because they could still sign him and use him as a DH. And then I'm surprised with Profar. But at this stage of the game, with most of these guys, there's something that we don't know. Whether it's, Gary Sanchez has been offered by 4 different teams, but all 4 teams are teams that he doesn't want to play for. Who knows what the issue is? Maybe he's got bad knees and we don't know it.
Right.
Who knows? So, yep.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how those next 2 to 3 weeks plays out with spring training starting and who gets hurt in the next couple of weeks. And especially with the World Baseball Classic coming and these players playing in the World Baseball Classic, who's going to get hurt there?
Speaking of which, have you seen the Caribbean Series yet? And have you seen the stadium that they're playing at?
I have not.
Oh, look that up. You got to Google that.
But
look that up.
I will have to.
It's a gorgeous ballpark.
I will Google that after this.
Basically sitting on a freaking overlooking the ocean. It's fantastic. Like if you're playing there, you're just looking around. You're not even paying attention to the baseball. You're going, wow, this is cool.
So it's similar to what it sounds like the Padres Giants are going to be playing in when they play in Mexico this year.
Similar.
Because I believe that stadium is right on the water as well. So it'll be very interesting. So
similar.
I'm super excited because right now we have a new segment to this. We are about to pay homage. We're going to pay homage.
Okay, so before we start this, I have to tell you guys this. Everybody that's listening to this, I have to tell you this. Sammy texted me yesterday, so we go back and forth usually on Fridays on how the show's going to play itself out. And Sammy texted me yesterday and he goes, I got a surprise for you. But he wouldn't tell me what it was. Okay. Now I'm an only child. Okay. And I'm the type of kid that like when the presents are under the tree, I'm shaking everything. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? And he's telling me this. But you know what, Top Bad Rivalry followers? You are in for a treat because he nailed it. Sammy, take it away. There you go.
Top fans around the Diamond fans, a legend. a legend of the game has retired. He may go down. You know, we make a lot of jokes about Brandon Belt being a first ballot Hall of Famer. There is no question that this man is 1,000% going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If it was me, I would move up his induction date so he could be inducted next year. That's how passionate I am about this. Top fans. We're talking about 2 times the player, 2 times the first ballot Hall of Fame catcher, Tom Brady of the Montreal Expos, has officially retired from sports.
Yeah.
Top fans, we wanted to highlight this because, you know, while we specifically right now gear towards baseball, Tom Brady will always, I think there's no question between myself and Bill that Tom Brady will go down as the GOAT of all GOATs when it comes to football. But we wanted to highlight Tom Brady because I honestly had no idea until he announced his retirement that he was a baseball player as well. I will be the first one to admit that I had no clue he was ever signed. So when I heard this, the wheels started turning. And I had to say, well, Tom Brady was a 2-star athlete. We got to highlight some other 2-star athletes here. So I went around and I found the best football players that play ball. And I think minus the 3 up top and the 1 in the middle, the 2 on the bottom, left and right, are the 2 we got to talk about in all actuality. You got Deion and you got the big heart.
Mm-hmm.
Bill,
got Bo Jackson and Deion.
What do you take from this wide variety group of players right here?
So, I mean, the ones on the top row, okay, yeah, they're very, very good players when it comes to their football careers. Even Tim Tebow is a good football player. I saw a picture of Tim Tebow holding his bat with an Under Armour jersey on, just an Under Armour shirt, and I'm like, dude, this guy could bench press me with one arm and then, you know, have a cheeseburger in the other hand.
He's huge.
He is very huge. But I saw Bo Jackson play live at Anaheim Stadium when he was playing for the Royals against the Angels when I was a kid. And literally, Bo Jackson's thighs, you can't tell it, but his thighs were bigger than my torso. I mean, as a kid, he was huge. And had he not gotten hurt in football, he would have been great. Now, if you want a Bo Jackson highlight, okay, there's 2 ones that will always live on. When he goes back to catch a ball and then climbs the wall. Okay, obviously that one's awesome. And then go back and watch his at bat, and I want to say the 1989 All-Star game. Vin Scully's calling the All-Star game, and there's a broadcaster in the booth who had been retired from broadcasting for a while and had just retired from his career, named Ronald Reagan. And so Ronald Reagan was in the broadcasting booth with Vin Scully, and Bo Jackson hits a home run that was a no-doubter. And Reagan's like, oh.
So, wait, Ronald Reagan, the actor?
That's right. The actor? Yeah. and Leon Deion, that guy, from a football perspective, he was fun. He was Showtime. In a baseball perspective, I remember watching him play and thinking, somebody ought to throw at this guy, because he was just so cocky, but he could back it up. That's what was frustrating. So if he was on your team, you loved him. If he was playing against you, you were thinking somebody throw at him.
Yeah, he's like every player on the Dodgers to me as a Giants. On my team, I'm all about it. Let's do it.
Hey. Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are on their way to the Hall of Fame.
First ballot Hall of Famers. I'll take it. No, you look at this list of players, and in a lot of times what happens with 2-star athletes from college is that they pick one primary sport and they use their secondary sport as their practice. They like to stay fresh in the game. They, if something happens and fit in football, could they always go back to baseball? Something happens in baseball. Could they convert to football? You see this from a lot of players. You don't normally, however, see one player play both sports at the same time. And Dion, I don't know if you remember this, actually had to get special approval from not only MLB, but also from the NFL to be able to play both sports at the same time. And
there were days where he played both on the same day.
Yeah. So it when he was playing in Atlanta as a Falcon and a Brave, it worked. Once he moved, it was like, well, now you can't do that. Pick one side or the other, but you can't play both because you're just gonna be tired. But there were some honorable mentions we didn't get to put on this list. One in particular was Michael Jordan. I really wanted to get him on this list. I just couldn't find a spot for him. But these are a lot of great players that love the game and should be recognized for the immense talent that they are able to bring to this sport. It's very interesting to see two sport athletes when they go and they play these things, especially when you go to spring training and you're able to see it and you're like, man, you see him on the field or, at home and you're like, man, that's crazy. Like, he doesn't look that big. And you see him in person, you're like, dang, like, he's huge. Like, you look at Tim Tebow on TV and you're like, oh, he's not that big. And then all of a sudden you look at him in person, you're like, I can't wrap my hands around your muscle.
Right. Now I will say this, Top fans and Around the Diamond followers, we are allowed to pull a mulligan. This is not the first, but the second time that Tom Brady has retired. If he decides to come back, we'll have him on the show again next year after he retires, and we'll talk about the Expos again. But
and we'll do our best to actually get him on that time. We made a couple of calls.
Yeah.
I think he's still a little bitter about Gisele, but it's fine. He'll get over it. He'll move on. He's Tom Brady. He's TB12. He'll move on.
He texted me and I told him, hey, text Sammy, get on the show. Text Sammy.
I tried. One thing we didn't mention on this, and I kind of just want to touch on it real quick, because Bill, you had mentioned it to me in our conversations over the last week. There was a recently released in regards to Alex Correa being called out for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have an opportunity to get it into the deck this week, but I did want to touch on it real quick with you. And what are your thoughts on the entire situation?
So we'll talk about this more in depth next week, but there's another book released where it talked about what Alex Cora was doing, and how he was sign stealing. Remember, Alex Cora was a bench coach for the Astros in 2017, and then became the manager of the Red Sox in 2018. So both years that the Dodgers lost the World Series to teams that were sign stealing. Now, don't get me wrong. Since day one of baseball, there has been sign stealing. The difference is this go around, they use technology to do it. That's no bueno. Okay. I don't care if you want to steal signs from second base when you're on second base and the catcher is stupid enough just to put down like a 1 or a 2. But yeah, some of the allegations that are in this book are pretty heavy. And granted, I like Alex Cora. I think Alex Cora is a good dude, but I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And so I'm not about this. I'm a little frustrated with it. So it is what it is.
I think this is really going to impact him professionally moving forward. I think
1,000%.
I don't think he will be, his coaching career is probably over now that this has been released. I think he's got a lot of amends he's going to have to make. And I'm very curious to see how he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So we will absolutely keep you posted on this, Top fans and Around the Diamond fans. We'll get a little bit more in depth into it next week. But yeah, it's very interesting to see these new allegations coming out, see how this is going to impact him moving forward. But as we say every week, we could talk about this stuff day in and day out. But we have a great podcast schedule coming up for Top fans. So Bill, take me through this interesting schedule you've created.
Okay, so we've already got one filmed on its way. It's called Let the Kids Play. Let the Kids Play is talking about what Sammy and I started talking about, Grand Slam Sam and I started talking about, which is it's not sustainable for the MLB to have all this cash being thrown around and not starting to to use your rookies. Now, mind you, if you are a Dodger fan, for example, okay, are you ever going to find your next Clayton Kershaw if you don't let the kids play? If you're a Giants fan, are you ever going to find your next Buster Posey if you don't let the kids play? Right. And so,
I mean, I think we should be saying Brandon Belt. Are we going to find our next
Brandon
Brandon
Belt? Yes. Are we ever going to find another Brandon Belt? Come on, Bill. What was I thinking? Then we have
he's the real first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean,
yes. Then we have Brian, who's a Phillies fan. He's phenomenal. He was a great guest. Wednesday, I'm going to try to do a Bills Corner and wrap up some things. Thursday, there's a very good chance that we might have as much as 7 ladies on the podcast talking spring training baseball, and baseball being back.
I should have put
plan.
Guests with an
What's
S
that?
on that. I thought it was a guest. I didn't realize it was a guests.
Yes, but that's totally fine. And then we've got a couple other things coming up. Podcast schedule is locked and loaded this week. It's phenomenal. So it's gonna be good times.
And as another thing Bill and I talked about before the show even started, who knows when I might just interrupt his entire schedule and throw myself into a podcast and just make another one happen.
Bring it. Bring it.
Because everyone knows that when Bill and I get together on a podcast, no one knows what we're talking about. Anything could happen and anyone could just show up. So
who knows?
Well, it's a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mystery. It's a mystery.
But anyway, Diamond fans, always make sure you're checking out TopFanRivalry.com. There are consistently new articles being uploaded weekly. Bill always posts an article. We have great top fans posting articles about everything under the sun, including, as Bill mentioned, a great article coming out early this week about making baseball cheap again. Not for the players, for us, the fans, so we could actually enjoy it. Always look out for all the new merch that's being dropped. I unfortunately am not wearing it today, but there is a brand new black and orange Top Fan hat in the merch store, and I am sure Bill has got a lot of great new merch coming out, and some I'm going to talk with him about to make happen for us all. And as well, Bill has mentioned there are some great and interesting photos in this photo gallery. So make sure you are going to TopFanRivalry.com. Bill, what's the price on that locker room again?
It's $36 for a year, unless they use a code.
And I believe that code that they can use is Grand Slam in all caps. It will get you 10% off the subscription for the year. So that'll bring it down from 36 down to about 32 and change. But you get all of this great access. You get all the podcasts, you get all the articles, you can see all the merch and get discounts on the merch using that same code Grand Slam, as well as all the photo galleries and the new stuff that we're putting into the site. Baseball cards, anything. As well, make sure there are some awesome watch parties that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks as we go through the baseball season. Atlanta, Houston, Philly, New York, LA, maybe even San Francisco.
No, not maybe. San Francisco. San Francisco's on the docket. San Diego's on the docket.
It is happening. San Diego's on the docket.
It is.
Are we doing St. Louis? Are we doing St. Louis? Are we doing Chicago?
We're gonna try. We're gonna try. So there's a little bit of a push trying to get me to Pittsburgh as well. So
Oh,
we're gonna see
so
how that
top
works.
top fans, you got to keep a lookout because these watch parties are going to be going on all over the country, all throughout the season. And if they don't, and if some locations don't happen this season, and you want a location, let us know. We will do everything we can to try to make it happen in the following season because this is going to
Yeah.
be something that's recurring. We're not doing it one. We're not one and done here. We are going to be bringing these watch. Definitely make sure you're checking them out. Bill, do you have any final comments you want to give to the fans?
No. Except for, like Sam said, go to topfanrivalry.com. Right in the center of the website, you'll see Watch Party. Click onto that bad boy and let us know which ones you want to go to. Okay. Each one's going to be different. We have one locked and loaded in Fountain Valley, California. It's the Dodgers Angels Freeway Series on the 27th of March. On April 1st, we have one locked and loaded for the opening weekend for the Angels and A's in Orange County, in Anaheim, and we'll announce that a little bit later. We also have one locked up, I believe, for June 20th in Atlanta, Georgia. So the other dates are coming. I know that the Boston date is going to be in or around August 22nd because that one is when the it'll be Boston when they are at Houston. The following night at the ballpark, the Los Angeles Dodgers will be playing the Boston Red Sox of Los Angeles, since they've taken half of our team. But I may have scheduled a watch party before a Dodgers series just so I could go to a game Dodgers Red Sox. Who knows, Sammy? Who knows how I did that? It's
Hey, look,
amazing how that works out.
it's kind of like me planning my bachelor party this September around the Giants being in Denver and just happened to seeing them play the Rockies.
Yeah, listen, and for those of you that don't think this could happen, I may
Coincidences
end up
have
party
happened to be the
crashing that.
ones that benefit.
I may end up party crashing that and end up in Denver that weekend. And Sam, and get some lives with Sam going, hey, how's everybody doing, Top Hat? I'm gonna have some fun with it. Guaranteed.
But,
Sam, thanks for the
we,
time around the Diamond fans, and thanks for the time. We did great today. And look forward to
yes,
seeing you next week.
guys, we will see you on the field. Have a great rest of your weekend.